Picture an army so feared that their very name echoed like an omen of death across the battlefields of Europe. In the shadows of the 15th century, these warriors moved like dark spectres, their black armor gleaming under the sun. They weren't fighting for land or riches, their loyalty belonged to one visionary king. Imagine yourself standing on the battlefield. The ground trembles beneath your feet. Through the morning mist, you see them, row upon row of black-clad soldiers, moving with deadly precision. This is the Black Army, the most lethal military force of the early Renaissance. Their reputation struck terror into the hearts of enemies, who often fled before the first sword was drawn. But who were these mysterious warriors, and how did they change the course of history? In 15th century Hungary, King Matthias Corvinus dreamed of building an empire to rival the greatest powers of Europe. While other rulers relied on feudal levies and scattered bands of mercenaries, Matthias had a different vision. Inspired by tales of Julius Caesar that captivated him in his youth, he created something unprecedented, a professional standing army that served year-round. These soldiers, known as the Black Army, weren't just warriors. They were the backbone of an ambitious dream, a force that would reshape the way wars were fought. They pioneered military tactics that would be studied for centuries to come. Their discipline was legendary, their training unmatched, and their loyalty unwavering. But what transformed this legion into one of history's most feared fighting forces? What secrets lay behind their extraordinary success? And what lasting impact did they leave on the art of warfare? If you love unraveling the mysteries of history's greatest empires, join us on this journey through time. This is the story of the Black Army, where innovation met iron will, and one king's vision changed warfare forever. Like this video, subscribe to Modern Age Chronicles and ring that bell to ensure you don't miss any episodes of our historical adventures. Get ready to discover how a band of professional soldiers helped forge one of medieval Europe's most powerful kingdoms. The Black Army did not emerge from thin air, but rather from the seeds of military innovation planted in the 1440s. This remarkable force had its beginnings under John Hunyadi, a legendary figure in Hungarian history and father of Matthias Corvinus. Picture a time when Europe trembled at the advance of the Ottoman Empire. John Hunyadi stood as Hungary's shield against this mighty threat. A national hero whose name struck fear into Ottoman hearts, Hunyadi realized that traditional feudal armies were no match for the disciplined Ottoman forces. He began gathering professional soldiers, creating the foundation of what would become the most feared military force in Renaissance Europe. But it was his son, Matthias Corvinus, who would transform this initial force into something extraordinary. As a young prince, Matthias spent countless hours reading about the great military leaders of antiquity. He was particularly fascinated by Julius Caesar and the mighty Roman legions. These stories weren't just entertainment for the young prince, they were inspiration. When Matthias ascended to the throne, he faced a crucial question. How could he build and maintain a professional army in an age when most European kingdoms relied on temporary feudal levies? The answer lay in his innovative approach to state finances. He reformed the tax system, maximized revenue from Hungary's rich gold and silver mines, and implemented what we might call today a professional military budget. Here's a fascinating detail few people know. Matthias didn't just pay his soldiers well, he revolutionized military compensation. While other armies of the time might go months without pay, leading to looting and desertion, the Black Army received regular wages. This regular pay, combined with a share of war spoils, made service in the Black Army one of the most sought-after military positions in 15th century Europe. Another intriguing aspect was Matthias's recruitment strategy. Unlike other rulers who relied primarily on local nobles and their retinues, Matthias actively recruited experienced mercenaries from across Europe. He understood that skill and professionalism mattered more than national origin. This diversity would become one of the Black Army's greatest strengths, bringing together different fighting styles and military traditions into one formidable force. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the Black Army's origin was how it transformed from a defensive force meant to protect against Ottoman invasion into an elite offensive unit capable of projecting power across Europe. This transformation would prove crucial in Matthias's ambitious plans to expand Hungarian influence and challenge the great powers of his time. Let me tell you about Matthias Corvinus, a king who was far ahead of his time. Crowned at just 15 years old in the year 1458, Matthias wasn't born into royalty through traditional means. He was chosen by the nobles who had respected his father. But what these nobles didn't expect was that this young king would revolutionize warfare in medieval Europe. Matthias wasn't your typical medieval ruler. While other kings spent their time in luxury, he could often be found among his soldiers, sharing their meals and listening to their stories. He was known for his exceptional memory. They say he could remember the name of every officer in his army, a detail that earned him incredible loyalty from his men. Here's something remarkable about Matthias. He was one of the most educated rulers of his time. He spoke 6 languages fluently and had an extensive library that rivaled the Vatican's collection. This knowledge helped him develop military strategies that were centuries ahead of their time. He studied ancient Roman military texts and applied their principles to create something entirely new, a permanent professional army in an age when most kingdoms relied on temporary soldiers. The Black Army became Matthias's masterpiece. Unlike feudal armies that would disband after each campaign, these soldiers trained and fought together year-round. This continuous training created an unmatched level of coordination and skill. Picture this. While other armies were essentially armed mobs, the Black Army moved like a single organism, their formations so perfect they seemed almost supernatural to their enemies. A lesser-known fact about Matthias's leadership style was his innovative reward system. He introduced a merit-based promotion system, something almost unheard of in the 15th century, when military ranks were usually bought or inherited. This meant that any soldier, regardless of their background, could rise through the ranks based on their abilities alone. The psychological impact of the Black Army was just as important as their military prowess. Their reputation alone could win battles. Imagine the sight. Thousands of warriors in black armor, moving in perfect formation, their discipline absolute. The color of their armor wasn't just for show, it was carefully chosen to strike fear into their enemies' hearts. There are documented cases where opposing armies retreated at the mere sight of the Black Army's advance. But perhaps Matthias's greatest achievement was creating a sense of purpose beyond mere payment. These weren't just mercenaries fighting for gold, they were part of something greater. Matthias convinced them they were the elite of Europe, the professional soldiers of the future. And he was right. The Black Army became the model for future standing armies across Europe, proving that Matthias truly was a visionary king who changed the face of warfare forever. His soldiers' loyalty was legendary. Even when offered higher pay by other rulers, most refused to leave Matthias's service. They knew they were part of something historic, a revolutionary force that would be remembered for centuries to come. This wasn't just an army, it was Matthias's vision of the future made real through iron discipline and unwavering loyalty. The structure and training of the Black Army set new standards for military excellence in medieval Europe. Imagine a force that brought together the best warriors from across the continent. German knights renowned for their heavy cavalry tactics, Czech infantry experts in the art of siege warfare, and Serbian veterans who had spent years fighting the Ottomans. This diversity wasn't just about numbers, it was about combining the best military traditions Europe had to offer. Let me tell you about their remarkable training regime. Unlike the casual approach of feudal armies, the Black Army trained continuously, even in times of peace. They practiced complex battle formations that would make a Roman legion proud. The soldiers would spend hours practicing synchronized movements, shield wall formations, and rapid deployment techniques. This wasn't just about physical training, it was about creating a perfect military machine. The equipment of the Black Army was something special. Each soldier received standardized weapons and armor of the highest quality, another revolutionary concept for its time. The heavy cavalry wore black painted plate armor that gleamed ominously in the sunlight. The infantry carried advanced weapons like the Pavis shield and the crossbow, making them equally deadly in siege warfare and open battle. Every piece of equipment was maintained to the highest standards, with dedicated craftsmen traveling with the army to repair and maintain their gear. Here's a fascinating detail about their organizational structure. The army was divided into specialized units, each with its own unique role. The heavy cavalry formed the elite corps, supported by light cavalry units perfect for reconnaissance and rapid strikes. The infantry included both heavily armored soldiers for frontal assaults and lighter troops, skilled in skirmishing tactics. There were even specialized siege units equipped with the latest gunpowder weapons, a new and terrifying technology at the time. But what happened when there wasn't a war to fight? This is where Matthias showed his genius. During peacetime, the army didn't sit idle in barracks. They were deployed across the kingdom in strategic locations, serving as both a police force and a deterrent against potential enemies. Soldiers were kept busy with construction projects, training new recruits, and maintaining fortress defenses. This constant activity not only kept them sharp, but also gave them a sense of purpose beyond combat. The payment system was revolutionary for its time. Soldiers received regular wages, not just promises of plunder like most medieval armies. They were paid in both gold and silver, and often received additional benefits like food allowances and housing. This regular payment was crucial for maintaining loyalty and discipline. A soldier of the Black Army could support a family and live a comfortable life, something unheard of for most medieval warriors. Training wasn't just about combat skills. The Black Army pioneered what we might call today combined arms warfare. Instead, they practiced coordinating different types of units, cavalry, infantry, and artillery, to work together seamlessly. They even conducted large-scale military exercises, similar to modern war games, to test new tactics and maintain readiness. One of the most remarkable aspects was their system of merit-based advancement. A common soldier could rise through the ranks based on skill and courage, regardless of their background. This created a professional officer corps that valued competence over nobility, a revolutionary concept that wouldn't become common in Europe for centuries to come. The result of all this training and organization was an army that could adapt to any battlefield situation. Whether they were conducting lightning raids, laying siege to fortified cities, or fighting pitched battles in open fields, the Black Army proved time and again that they were masters of warfare in all its forms. Their reputation for excellence was so great that sometimes their mere presence was enough to force enemies to surrender without a fight. So, did you know that the Black Army was so feared that its enemies fled before even fighting? If you're enjoying this video, like, share, and subscribe to the Modern Age Chronicles channel for more incredible stories. And tell us in the comments, what was the most impressive battle you've ever heard of? The achievements of the Black Army read like pages from an epic saga. Under Matthias Corvinus, Hungary transformed from a modest kingdom into one of the most powerful states in Europe. Let me tell you about their most remarkable victories and the lasting impact they had on military history. Their greatest triumph came with the conquest of Vienna in 1485. This wasn't just any victory. Capturing the seat of the Habsburg Empire was like taking the crown jewel of Central Europe. The Black Army's siege of Vienna demonstrated their mastery of modern warfare. They used innovative artillery tactics and complex engineering works that would impress even modern military strategists. The sight of the black-clad warriors marching through the streets of Vienna sent shockwaves through European courts. But their achievements went far beyond Vienna. The Black Army expanded Hungarian control into Moravia, Silesia, and parts of Austria. They successfully defended against Ottoman invasions, making Hungary the strongest bulwark of Christian Europe. What's fascinating is how they adapted their tactics for each campaign. Fighting in the mountainous regions of Bohemia required different strategies than battling on the Hungarian plains, and the Black Army excelled at both. Here's a lesser-known fact about their influence. The Black Army revolutionized siege warfare. They were among the first to effectively combine traditional siege engines with the new gunpowder weapons. Their engineers developed innovative techniques for undermining walls and creating sophisticated trenching systems. These methods would be studied and copied by armies across Europe for centuries to come. The Black Army's influence on military organization was profound. They proved that a professional, standing army could be more effective than feudal levies or temporary mercenary bands. Their system of regular pay, standardized equipment, and continuous training became a model for future European armies. Even their enemies started copying their methods, the highest form of flattery in military matters. Let me tell you about one of their most impressive achievements, the campaign against the Ottomans in 1479. The Black Army didn't just fight defensively, they took the battle to Ottoman territory, something few European armies dared to do. They captured several key fortresses and demonstrated that the seemingly invincible Ottoman forces could be beaten through superior tactics and discipline. The legacy of the Black Army extended far beyond military matters. They helped establish the concept of military engineering as a professional discipline. Their system of logistics and supply was centuries ahead of its time. They maintained detailed records of equipment, provisions, and troop movements, administrative practices that wouldn't become common in European armies until the 18th century. Another fascinating aspect was their role in spreading military innovation across Europe. As veterans of the Black Army later served in other armies, they took their knowledge with them. Military techniques developed by the Black Army could soon be seen in French, German, and Italian armies. They had essentially created a military revolution that would transform European warfare. Their system of military justice was remarkably advanced for its time. While other armies were notorious for looting and undisciplined behavior, the Black Army maintained strict codes of conduct. This not only made them more effective in battle, but also helped maintain public support in occupied territories, an early example of what we might today call hearts and minds strategy. The Black Army demonstrated that military power could be built on professionalism rather than noble birth or religious fervor. This was a revolutionary concept in medieval Europe, where warfare was still largely dominated by aristocratic traditions. Their success proved that merit, training, and organization were more important than social status or personal wealth in creating an effective fighting force. The story of the Black Army shows us how a single innovative force can change the course of military history. Their achievements weren't just about winning battles. They were about showing a new way of organizing and conducting warfare that would influence military thinking for centuries to come. The decline of the Black Army is a poignant tale of how even the mightiest military force can fall when deprived of proper leadership and support. The death of Matthias Corvinus in 1490 marked the beginning of the end for this legendary army. It's a story that reminds us how fragile even the strongest institutions can be. Matthias's successor, Vladislaus II, inherited not just a kingdom, but also Europe's most formidable army. However, he lacked both his predecessor's vision and, more crucially, his financial acumen. Here's what many don't know. Matthias had developed an intricate system of taxation and economic management to support his elite force. When this system collapsed under Vladislaus, the effects were devastating. The first signs of trouble came when soldier payments became irregular. Imagine being part of the most elite fighting force in Europe, accustomed to regular wages and proper equipment, suddenly finding yourself struggling to maintain your weapons and feed your family. The proud warriors of the Black Army faced this harsh reality. What happened next was both tragic and predictable. Without regular pay, discipline began to erode. Some units turned to raiding local communities, the very people they had once protected. This created a vicious cycle. As public support waned, funding became even scarcer. The once mighty Black Army began to fragment. Here's a fascinating detail about their final days. Some units of the Black Army maintained their professional standards even as the organization crumbled around them. These veterans were highly sought after by other European rulers. Their knowledge and experience spread across the continent, ironically helping to modernize the very armies that would eventually replace them. The final blow came in 1492, when the remaining units of the Black Army were defeated near Szeged. This wasn't just any battle. It was fought against the very kingdom they had once served. The army that had never lost a major engagement while under Matthias was finally defeated, not by a foreign power, but by internal strife. The dispersal of the Black Army's veterans across Europe had an unexpected effect. These highly trained soldiers became military advisors, trainers, and commanders in various European armies. They carried with them the advanced military knowledge, tactical innovations, and organizational principles that had made the Black Army so effective. In a way, the army's dissolution helped spread its revolutionary military concepts throughout Europe. Perhaps the most ironic aspect of the Black Army's end was that their very success had inspired their eventual replacements. Other European monarchs had studied and learned from their example. The professional standing armies that would emerge in the following centuries owed much to the pioneering model of the Black Army. The story of their decline teaches us an important lesson about military power. Even the most elite fighting force depends on proper leadership and sustainable financial support. The Black Army didn't fall because of military defeat. They fell because the system that supported them collapsed. Yet, in their dissolution, they achieved a kind of immortality. The principles they established, professional soldiers, regular pay, standardized training, and merit-based advancement, became the foundation of modern military organization. While the Black Army itself disappeared, their legacy lived on in the armies that would shape European history for centuries to come. The end of the Black Army marked not just the close of a chapter in military history, but also the end of a dream. Matthias's vision of a professional force that could transform Hungary into a major European power. While that dream died with him, the revolutionary changes his army brought to warfare would endure, shaping military thinking well into the modern age. The story of the Black Army represents far more than a mere chapter in military history. It stands as a testament to how vision, innovation, and leadership can reshape the destiny of nations. As we look back through the centuries, we can't help but wonder, what if Matthias Corvinus had lived longer? What if his revolutionary military system had survived and evolved? Imagine an alternate history where the Black Army continued to develop and adapt. Could they have stopped the Ottoman advance into Europe more effectively? Might they have transformed Hungary into a lasting European superpower? These questions tantalize historians to this day. The Black Army wasn't just ahead of its time, it was blazing a trail that European armies wouldn't fully follow for centuries. Consider this. Many of the military principles we take for granted today, professional soldiers, standardized training, merit-based promotion, regular pay, were first systematically implemented by the Black Army. They proved that a professional force could outperform the traditional feudal armies of their time. In many ways, they were the forerunners of modern military organization. What makes their story even more remarkable is how their influence spread even after their dissolution. Like seeds scattered in the wind, their veterans carried their knowledge and expertise across Europe. The military innovations they pioneered would eventually become standard practice in armies throughout the world. The legacy of the Black Army reminds us that true innovation often comes from daring to think differently. Matthias Corvinus and his Black Army showed that with the right combination of leadership, organization, and vision, it's possible to revolutionize warfare and change the course of history. Their story continues to inspire and intrigue us, raising questions about leadership, innovation, and the power of human organization. While the Black Army may have faded into history, their legacy lives on in every professional army that exists today. If you've been fascinated by this journey through one of history's most remarkable military forces, there's so much more to explore. Join us at Modern Age Chronicles for more incredible stories from medieval and Renaissance history. From the knights of Western Europe to the samurai of Japan, from the rise of empires to the innovations that changed the world, we're here to bring history to life. Remember to like this video, share it with fellow history enthusiasts, and subscribe to Modern Age Chronicles. Hit that notification bell to ensure you never miss our upcoming episodes about the fascinating characters and events that shaped our world. Your support helps us continue bringing these amazing historical stories to life. Next week, we'll explore another fascinating chapter of military history. Until then, keep wondering, keep questioning, and keep exploring the incredible stories that history has to offer. This is Modern Age Chronicles, where the past comes alive.